An area of South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province, once renowned for its exceptional agricultural produce, is now better known for the trail created more than 30 years ago by a group of artists and craftsmen.
When we started the Meander, we had no idea of how it would grow, how popular it would become.
The area, now known as the Midlands Meander, stretches from the Drakensberg Mountains to the Howick Falls and brings together great artists, exceptional cuisine, and activities ranging from fly fishing to mountain biking.
Definitely getting a lot more attention from the international market. We're definitely seeing a lot more people, overseas tourists coming through.
The Meander has evolved, but at its core, it remains a community.
People come out here and I think that's the first thing they feel is that, wow, they can really express themselves in the medium of this kind of environment.
This is the Midlands Meander. This is inside Africa. The Midlands Meander can trace its roots back to this spot, Caversham Mill, where more than 30 years ago, the potter David Walters was working.
These crafters, almost a bit like hippies, had come into this area to get away from the city.
I first came through here, it was October 75, and it was all dirt then, you know. And we drove through, and I looked down this valley, right in this valley, and I thought, that's where I want to live. Before I even saw the farm, I thought, this is where I want to live and die.
Potter Ian Glennie was one of those there at the beginning.
I think the whole thing started at the mill, Dave Walters' place. We had supper there one night and decided we need to get together, find a name, and start advertising. And it's just grown and grown. I think there's about 180 members now, 40 wedding venues, and lots of accommodation. Because I've had about 250,000 people through here in the last 40 years.
And on any given day, visitors to Dargle Valley Potter will most likely find Ian at his wheel.
It's a very primal thing. Clay, to me, is alive. I like to keep the design wholesome, pleasing to the eye, based on tradition, the Korean, Japanese, Sung, Chiang, Chinese, and the good English tradition of well-made pots.
Glennie was part of the plan to try and bring the customers to the crafters.
Well, we wanted them to come and experience a rural area out in the country, visit the potters, see the work being made, and buy direct from them. And our proviso was there that 80% of the goods should be made on the property by the artist.
Soon, artists and craftsmen and women were being drawn to the area, and the Meander was born.
At Shuttleworth Weaving, we try to make stuff by hand. We work off-grid. Our ethos is to keep it something that's definitely made by hand. We make things that machines can't make. So we can do very thick, chunky, textured rugs. We custom color them, we custom the designs.
Shuttleworth Weaving epitomizes the way many Meander crafters approach their work, producing the old-fashioned way, but shipping their products to customers around the world.
Obviously there are little places where we try and save time with a bit of electricity, but mostly we find that the mark of the handmade, is what makes it special.
As with many crafters on the Meander, this is a family business. And Robbie Shuttleworth isn't the only second-generation worker here. On his staff is Teresa Sizagela, who works here alongside her son.
I am very pleased to have him work here with me. I was taught to spin and weave as a very young girl in the Luteni Valley in Drakensberg. When the Shuttleworth started a small weaving place in Luteni, I worked for them there for many years, and then I moved across here to work at the factory.
Robbie and his wife continue to use natural fibers sourced from across South Africa, making throws and carpets in mohair, wool, and cotton, which is mostly hand-spun and hand-woven. They've come a long way since the mid-1970s.
I remember my parents making stuff and displaying it on the veranda, out on the lawn. Quite often, if the weather was good, they'd hang it in the tree and people would come in and have a look around.
While the growth of tourism in the area since those days has a lot to do with the creative community, some are simply drawn here by its beauty.
As you drive down the road, everything is saying to you all the time, photograph me, photograph me. It's off the beaten track without being too far. Beautiful climate, incredible scenery. There's a great community of people here as well.
He considers founding Meander members Ian Glennie the potter, Shuttleworth Weaving, and Groundcover the leather company, the real stars of the Meander.
What's really lovely about them all is just the purity of the craft that they bring to it. It's all hand done. It's the old traditional ways of doing things.
Groundcover was founded in 1990 by Justin and Amanda McCarthy, and has grown into a sustainable enterprise, well known internationally as makers of original, finely handcrafted leather goods.
In the beginning, it was quite a conservative farming community, so the early days was just the craftsmen, and with that, the hotels, accommodation, with time they joined.
Groundcover has been making quality shoes here for more than 25 years. They've created a niche market and earned a loyal following.
Quality has been the most important thing. And people say that we're killing our own market because our shoes don't wear out. But I don't believe that. I believe that person who's so happy with his shoes will tell 4 or 5 other people. And we've slowly built up a very, very loyal clientele that only wears our shoes.
They've also been a shining example of how businesses can develop their staff.
We've trained most of the staff ourselves, we've tried to employ locally, and we've grown very, very slowly and sustainably. So as the market's grown, so we've grown. People wanted the reality of it, where they could come and actually see the stuff made and knew it was made there by the people on that property.
Between them, the potter Ian Glennie, Shuttleworth Weaving, and Groundcover represent the initial wave of crafters that made the Midlands their home, and to whom the Meander can trace its history. The second wave was soon to follow.